Shalom, everybody. Thank you all for the feedback and anybody who checked out the website, and especially the phone calls I got to make. I had a great time talking with people and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I was adding to the website on the calendar page where, well, for one thing, you do have to make the appointment in Central Time because otherwise I would be confused. It's not going to mesh up with other people if everybody else is choosing their own time zone because it's on my schedule, which is in Central. It's in South Dakota. So that's one thing. But I added that on here. There's a time zone converter site if you need help in trying to figure out the time zone for Central. And also when you make an appointment, I have the time up here in Central Time. So this is Central Daylight Time because we just switched over to the Daylight Saving Time. But anyway, and also a reminder on here where it says CDT. So it should match up there. But what I wanted to talk about, is that I had added some stuff on here about possible topics we could discuss. And I'm not going to go through this whole thing. You can check out the website if you haven't seen it. But what I did find interesting is I had just put on here reincarnation. Are we forced to reincarnate on this earth forever, or is there a way out? And I had just put this on the website, and a friend of mine was watching a video and she told me to check it out. And this video is suggesting that people are stuck on this earth reincarnating over and over and over again because they go to the light and supposedly the light is a trick, and that's when they get their memory wiped and then have to come back again. And I think that's related to David Icke, because I've heard that theory before. It has to do with the Archons. There was Captain Janeway from Star Trek had this interaction with Archons, and yeah, they put this Gnostic stuff in our media. Kind of goes back to what I was talking about with the programming in the media. Not all of it is good programming. Actually, most of it is negative if you're not really paying attention. So there was this belief in Archons, and that goes back to the Demiurge belief, where there's this group of Gnostics. Now, not all Gnostics believe that, as I've talked about in the past, but some Gnostics believe that there was an evil Demiurge. And of course, I've got a video straight from the Nazarene Acts. I discuss how Kepha is basically debating Simon the Magician, who believed in the Demiurge. And so he's just debating using logic. And it's just not logical to believe in an evil or incompetent Demiurge, creator of this world. And that's what this belief with the Archons and the Demiurge is all about. If you think that you are stuck on this earth, then you have to believe that there was an evil creator that is forcing you to reincarnate over and over again, to use you as energy and that sort of idea. That's also seen in the Matrix when they are stuck in the world, and when they come out, they see that they were being used as batteries, more programming people to believe in this evil Demiurge. So I don't want to get into all the programming and all that stuff, and I do have a video already, like I said, about why the Demiurge belief is basically illogical. But I just wanted to talk about something that I discussed with my friend when we were talking about this, because I think it's really interesting, and there was a point. I noticed synchronicities, and I posted this on my website, and then at the same time, my friend sent me this video, and at the same time, another friend had posted another video about there being an evil Demiurge, all at the same morning. And I pay attention to these synchronicities. So that's why I want to discuss it, because maybe this idea is on your mind, because it seems to be on a lot of people's minds right now. So that's why I decided to do a video on it real quick, even though I already have a video on why I don't believe in the Demiurge. So what I discussed with my friend was the fact that going into the light and the love that you feel. Well, I also saw a near-death experience video, and I'll leave a link below to that too, because it was very, very interesting. And I've already shared it with everybody I've talked to basically since then, because it was so interesting, and I found bits and pieces that I could talk about, and various things all sort of rolled into one in his video. But, in the other video about the Archons and everything, they said that if you go into the light, then they're going to wipe your memory and all that stuff, and that it's a trick you're going to feel immense love and all that stuff. In the near-death experience, he's in this darkness when he leaves because he had a really bad life. And it's a really great video. It's not negative, but it's from a Jewish perspective. I'm not saying but it's from a Jewish perspective, but it is from a Jewish perspective. He talks in Hebrew a couple of times, but it's really very, I don't know, comforting to me. I think there's a lot of good stuff in there that's even ties into the New Testament, even though he's not Christian. I see a lot of stuff tying into the New Testament, like the belief that we're already seated in heavenly places and we're just, you know, if you believe that heaven is outside of time and when you die you go back there, you exit this dimension and you go back to there, you're already outside of time because you can travel back into any time period that you want to. Time doesn't exist, it means you're already there. So it's just an interesting perspective. And that does tie into the New Testament. But anyway, he had a bad life at the point when he died in this near-death experience. And so when he came out, he went into this black space after he got to roam around, you know, and see other people's thoughts and things like that. But after he left, then he went into this like black space where it seems like he had to be purified, which is basically what the lake of fire is all about. We have to get purified in order to get up to heaven, I think. So he was in this black space, and then he sees this white light. And, you know, I can just imagine that people are going to be in this black space when they die. And what these videos are teaching people is to don't go to the light. You can remember the movie, what was it, Ghost, with Patrick Swayze and everything, where he has to go into the light, but he doesn't, and he stays on Earth for a little while. And then there's one guy who goes into this black darkness, you know, which is like hell or whatever. And so there's this idea floating around that if you go into the light, it's a trick, and then you're going to get your mind erased, and then you're going to get sent back here, and that you should stay, you know, on Earth. But you might not actually end up staying on Earth. You might end up in that black void because you avoided the white light out of fear. Because that's what this Demiurge belief is basically built upon, fear. That you're fearing the white light. You're fearing that there was an evil creator of this world. So if you're stuck in that fear mentality, then you'd be sort of by default in this negative space when you die. And so I'm not trying to get you to be afraid of going into this negative space when you die. I'm just trying to explain that I think that there is a purificatory process that you have to go through, and if you are still stuck in fear of a white light and love of a great creator that created this world, if you're still stuck in fear and anger and all that stuff and what's negative in the world, because the only way you can believe in an evil creator of this world is to believe that this world is negative. I've talked about previously in other videos about how Kepha says there's no such thing as evil in the Nazarene Acts. And of course, I've talked about how to explain that. And if you haven't seen that, then I'll leave the link below. If I don't, ask me, I'll get it there. So I don't believe that there's anything as evil in this world. We have an all pure, all loving creator who created this world, and everything is for a good purpose. And there are some bad things that happen, but you know, it's for a purpose. We are here being purified so that we can come out being pure like our Father is pure. And the only way to get purified is to get the negative stuff taken out of you. And to get the negative stuff taken out of you, like anger, you have to be angered, and then you have to overcome those emotions. So the stuff that we see that angers us is there to cleanse us of our anger that we're holding on to. We need to get rid of that and trust that there's a reason why we're here. Trust that there's a purpose, and everybody will get what they deserve at some point. And I don't mean that in a negative way. We're supposed to treat each other as we would want to be treated. If you want to be accepted in all your imperfections and forgiven for that, then you need to accept everybody else and everybody else's imperfections and forgive them for that. That's the way to pure agape love. That is what we're supposed to do. Treat each other as ourselves. And so that also ties into that near-death experience video, because he saw how his actions affected other people. He said that if he had hurt somebody else, then he could go and feel what it was like to be that person and have that hurt come upon them. And so that goes back to what Jesus says, don't treat other people meanly, because if you're treating somebody the way you would want to be treated, then that's how you're going to get treated. But if you treat somebody negatively, then that's how you're going to feel. If you end up in their spot in judgment at the end, and you sort of can judge yourself and feel awful about the way that you treated other people. And back to this idea about reincarnation, I do believe in reincarnation, but I believe that there's a time when we get up to agape love, treating others as we would want to be treated. And if you go through that process, like this near-death experience shows, that you're seeing how other people felt when you interacted with them, and you were very kind to everybody that you met, then when you end up in heaven and you're judging yourself by seeing what it felt like to be in that other person's position dealing with you, if you've been positive with everybody that you meet, you're going to have a really great feeling there. And it's going to be, I don't think that there's going to be a purpose. Like when you're judged there, you're judged by how you treat people. It says Jesus separates the sheep and the goats by how they treat people. That's why I have that video about how Jesus is the only way, because he taught people what to do. But I don't believe that he's the only religion that will get you saved, because other people that treated others with the golden rule, as they would want themselves treated, are going to end up there and they'll be judged, but they would have been treating everybody else like they would want to be treated. And so if you can get to that point with pure agape love and stand there in front of the Creator and, everything that you did was positive towards people, then why are you going to get sent back? You wouldn't. You would have learned what it was like. But if you stand there before him and you hurt all these people, then yeah, I think you might have to go back to see what it was like to be in that position so that you can stop. Like when I came here, then I did a lot of negative things and I saw what that negative stuff did in my life. So then I repented. And now Father has turned my life around because I started following him and asked him what I should be doing. So I think that's the purpose of, if somebody comes back, that they're supposed to learn their lesson and then come to this agape love, love one another as yourself, turn your life around. And what he says in this near-death experience, explanation is he sees life as like this jewelry store, basically. It's a treasure trove in front of you. And some people walk into this life or this store and they, look at some of the jewels and like, I'm okay. I don't need anything. And then leave. It's basically the people that come here and don't do anything kind for one another and they just think about themselves. They're not picking up any, what he calls mitzvahs, but I would say good deeds or, treating others as yourself, that sort of idea. If you're kind to other people, treating, and Jesus says, if you didn't go feed the homeless, then you're not doing that for me. And if you clothe the poor and the naked and all that stuff, then you are doing it for him. That's the sort of idea. If you're helping other people, that's like a jewel, a diamond that you can pick up. It's a reward, the heavenly rewards and treasure. That's another thing. It's straight out of the New Testament, but he's saying this from a Jewish perspective. It's interesting. But so some people go in there and take they're like nothing, no big deal. Some people go in there and take a couple things, but then they're not like full into it. He's in there trying to take everything and put it all into a box. He's saying the smart people try to take everything. They try to do good deeds everywhere. Basically, that's what I have felt ever since I went through my deliverance, is I've been like, wow, I totally screwed my life up. Father, what do you want me to do? And just sort of giving my whole life over to him. And whatever he tells me to do, then that's what I'm going to do. And that's like grabbing everything in the store. Trying to pick up all the treasures in heaven that you can while you're here. And yeah, you can't see them while you're here, but when you leave, that's what you take with you. Those mitzvahs, those good deeds that you did to other people, that's what you take with you, and that's what you're judged by. And yeah, if you do negative stuff, then that affects you. So I will definitely link below to his near-death experience. It's almost 2 hours long, but I really recommend watching it. And what was my point here about the Demiurge? You know, what my friend finally came to the realization is, you know, our Father is, if the white light is a trick, our Father is greater than the white light. Now, I don't believe the white light's a trick, but our Father is greater than everything. So if you think that there's something negative out there, some negative creator, our Father is greater than that, and there's nothing to worry about. He's going to take care of everything. And, you know, I really wish people didn't get into this whole belief that there's, you know, an evil creator, this world. I understand why people do, because they see the bad things in life. But those bad things are because of things that we do. If we all took responsibility and we were all trying to grab those gems and be kind to one another, you know, on earth as it is in heaven, then this world would not be bad. This world was created wonderfully. It was wonderfully made. And it's up to us, you know, doing our Father's will. He's supposed to be working through us. We're supposed to empty ourselves of ourselves and do our Father's will, like I have in the Philippians 2 video. So anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this short little video discussing my thoughts about that evil demiurge idea that forces people to reincarnate. I just don't believe in that. I think that when you get reincarnated, it's for a purpose, because for one thing, you might have come back to grab lots of jewels, to get lots of treasures in heaven, and then you'll go up there and then you'll remember and you're like, oh yeah, that's why I did that. And it was totally worth it. And that's how I feel, because when I first, you know, was living my life, I was like, why am I here? This life sucks. But I had my deliverance. I'm doing Father's will now. And now I'm like, wow, we can do so much impact. That's why I try to do these videos. That's why I have the Truth or Talk thing, so I can help people by communicating with them and being somebody that can talk to. We can change the world by how we interact with people. We can pull up as many mitzvahs, diamonds, jewels, etc. in the heavenly kingdom as we can on this life right now. And, you know, some people are really upset about the whole fact that your memory gets wiped if you're reincarnated, as if that's a negative thing. But here's the thing. If I had my memory, and I do believe I was reincarnated for a purpose, if I had my memory when I came into Earth here now, I wouldn't have done what I did. There's no way I would have done what I did in the way that I did it. I wouldn't have had the thoughts that I had. It just wouldn't have happened. And if I didn't do what I did, and if I didn't have the thoughts that I had, and if I wouldn't have gone through the deliverance, because I would never have ended up in a place where I needed a deliverance. And if I hadn't gone through my deliverance, how could I tell you guys how to go through a deliverance? How could I tell you guys how to get clean and healthy? Because I wouldn't be here. This wouldn't have happened, you know? We need to have our memory wiped in order to have the experiences that we need to have, in order to get cleansed of those experiences, in order to have the understanding now of how other people feel, so that we can explain to them how to get clean, so that they can bring about the kingdom on earth as it is in heaven. So we needed our memories wiped. And, you know, there's so many people that are like upset about that, but there's just no way. I know that I needed my memory wiped, or else I would never be here, never do this. This wouldn't happen. And what use is it to be here and not be able to have these experiences to help people? See, I guess people think that if you had your memory wiped, if you didn't have your memory wiped, you'd be able to help people do things in this body and all that stuff. But that's not the way it works. You wouldn't understand the way other people think, because you wouldn't have been in the position that they've been in. But I understand how demons work, because I had them. And I wouldn't have had that understanding because I never would have gotten, you know, demonically oppressed, because I never would have done the sins that led to all that stuff. And it's just, you needed the memory wipe in order to help people. And I understand that very clearly, because I've been through it, and now that's what I do. I try to help people because I understand what it's like to be there. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. I don't believe that we get reincarnated in like a negative way. I don't believe the memory wipe is a negative thing. I don't believe in the evil demiurge, and I'll try to leave all the links below that I mentioned. Thank you all for listening, and check out the links if you haven't seen them before. Shalom. Chris White once coined the phrase short-term New World Order freakout syndrome to explain what it's like to have your perception of the world shattered. Of course, it's not just about the shape of the world, whether it's flat, round, or something else entirely. This New World Order freakout often includes now saying no to GMOs, fluoride, vaccines, and pharmaceuticals. It's a complete overhaul to your lifestyle. And trying to explain that mainstream media is just propaganda to promote false flags, division, and more can really put a strain on your relationships. Have you gotten tired of being mocked by your own family for what you share? We've all been there. Are you treated like the black sheep because of the commandments you keep? I get it. We're all trying to figure things out together, but sometimes you just have to let your family and friends be. Plant the seed and wait and see. But while you wait for them to catch up, do you wish you had someone to talk with who gets it? That's what Truth or Talk is for. Being able to discuss what's going on in your life and what you're interested in without feeling like you're going to be judged as a crazy conspiracy theorist who should be on drugs or committed. No subject is taboo, and I'd love to hear from you. Simply truthertalk.com. Simply make an appointment and let's talk, Truther.